in this lecture, we're going to save our edited task to the database. Now the first step in this is actually to come over to our database file in our PCL and add a method in here for editing things. And the method we will add is public void edit item. And then of course we're going to pass it a to-do list item called item. And inside here we're going to have a simple connection dot update. And what update does is it finds that item with that ID, the primary ID, and updates it with the new data. So we pass it the item. Okay. Just close the database file. So inside our onSave we want to pass it over. But we of course don't want to pass it over if there is some empty text in there. And to get around that, we need to perform a check. So above this onSave, let's create a new method, public, and this is going to pass back a boolean, a true or a false. And it will be check name, and create the method. Then we type if string dot is null or empty, and then we have to give it the actual string, so that's our model dot title. And then if it's empty, we should tell the user and give them an alert. Say display alert as an error, and then alert would like a message. So we say title cannot be empty. And then it asks for a button title, which is OK. Okay, and then we have to return false because the check failed. And close that if. And then if the check doesn't run through that and the string isn't null or empty, then we simply return true, so we know that we're OK. And then down here in our onSave method, we're going to use that check. We're going to say if not check name return. So if check name is false, then return, because we don't want to save anything. But if it isn't false, we're going to keep continuing through this method, and that will mean we need to save to our database. So new database dot edit item, and then we pass it the model. Now this is different because in the older versions of Xamarin, or without Xamarin Forms rather, you would actually have to go and get the value from the actual view that you've got open. But because we have a two-way binding, the value is automatically put in here every time it's changed. So that's quite handy. Then, after we've saved it, we want to get rid of this screen and go back to the previous one. So navigation.pop async, and this just pops off the current thing from the stack. So let's hit play, and this should build. And when I click an item, I'll be able to edit it. There we go. And now I'm going to edit it. I'm going to change my description. I'm just going to say edited, like that. I'm going to hit save, and that should be saved to the database. But you'll notice it doesn't show up here, and that's because we need to refresh it somehow. So I'm going to hit home twice, swipe it off, and then run it again, and it should find that task. There it is, edited. So we have one final thing to do over here in Xamarin, and that is to actually pull out that new version of the database every time we come back to our main page. And this is really easy to do. Open up our main page.xaml.cs, and you'll notice here we've put a listview.itemSource, and this is only fired when the main page is first created. It's never fired again. So clearly we'd like to move this somewhere that it gets fired every time the page appears or is refreshed or something like that. To do that, we can override something, and you may be familiar with this if you know iOS or Android. And we're going to override this method onAppearing. So onAppearing is fired every time a view reappears. So if you put other view controllers or activities on top of it and then you remove them, this method will fire. And all we have to do is take this line, the source line, and paste it in there. So now when we play this, every time that view reappears, the text should have changed. So if I hit task 2 and I go to edited and I just put my name in and hit save, there we go. It has been refreshed. Okay, there's just one little gripe that I have with this app, and currently these boxes resize to the current task. And if I was to type something really long, it kind of goes out of view. I'm not going to fix that right now. I'm going to set that for you as just a little bit of homework. So I'd like you to play around with the XAML section of this. So if I stop this running and we go to do edit page, somewhere in here amongst these options there'll be a way to expand that to take up the full width of the screen.